teams of cops and robbers with one of his best friends. They grabbed a real gun, and they were convinced it wasn't loaded. I'm sure you know what happened next, because it happens all the time. My friend pulled the trigger, and he killed his best friend. That little boy died immediately, and last I heard, the other little boy is still in a therapeutic hospital and may never leave. I had an uncle growing up who went in his front yard, laid out a tarp, and shot himself. He had 2 kids. Obviously, I was grieved by those tragedies, deeply grieved, but that didn't make me question guns. Not immediately, anyway, because accidents and suicides happen. They happen in other ways, too. My uncle could have hung himself just as easily. My concerns regarding gun violence didn't come all of a sudden. They emerged over time. Maybe it's the same for you. Many of us are growing weary these days. We're growing weary, sort of a gun violence fatigue. We don't want to grow numb, but it's hard to stay heartbroken and outraged when so many lives are lost each day. My weariness grew one mass shooting at a time, one tragedy in our neighborhood at a time. We've held so many vigils on corners with candles and painted rest in peace murals. I began to see how avoidable so many of these catastrophes are. Not all of them, but many of them. I've gotten to know so many people who have been directly affected by gun violence, and their stories have wrecked me. People who have survived mass shootings, parents who have lost their babies, even people who have committed violent crimes themselves and carry the weight of that for the rest of their lives. And I've traveled to war zones like Iraq and Afghanistan. I've seen the devastation of violence on a larger scale. I've held kids in hospitals in Baghdad who were victims of our own wars, and I've held veterans who wept over the damage that war did to them. Like many of you, I grew weary, not hopeless, but weary of violence. Most of us have been touched by gun violence in some way, so let's honor the massive pain that exists in our world, in our schools, on our streets, in our hearts. The right place to begin seems to be a place of deep lament. All is not well in the world, and we need to allow the blood that God hears crying out from the ground to affect us. We need to listen to the pain. Before we explore some of the ways that we might better protect life, let's begin by mourning the lives that have been lost by homicide, by suicide, by accident, and on purpose. Every person is created in the image of God, and every one of those lives, from Abel to my pal Jason, who was killed in elementary school, every one of them is a child of God. Every time a life is lost, we lose a glimpse of God in the world, for each one of us is an image bearer of our God.
We also want to say from the get-go that we are really grateful for all of you listening who are gun owners, even gun enthusiasts. Our friend James Atwood says gun violence is nonpartisan. It's also colorblind. Guns kill Republicans, Democrats, and people who hate politics altogether. The victims of violence are white, black, and brown. They are boys and girls, gay and straight, young and old. They are Christians, Jews, Muslims, Sikhs, Buddhists, and atheists. They are rich and poor, urban and suburban, and rural. No one escapes the reach of guns. Nothing is going to change as long as the country is polarized, with people talking at each other rather than to each other. I, Mike, started facilitating this conversation when I formed Raw Tools. If you haven't figured it out, Raw is war flipped around. One of my friends was a gun owner who began to question why we have assault rifles on our streets. He owned a number of guns, and one of them was an AK-47. After the 2012 shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary, which claimed the lives of 20 kids and 6 adults, he donated the AK-47 so that it could be destroyed and repurposed. My dad and I met with a blacksmith and learned how to create garden tools from that AK-47, and Raw Tools was born. 5 years later, my friend donated his handgun.
This is Shane here, and meanwhile, while Mike was doing that, on the other side of the country here in Philadelphia, I had just teamed up with my pal Ben Cohen. That's the Ben from Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. We teamed up and did this memorial event on the 10th anniversary of the September 11th attacks in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. We called it Jesus, Bombs, and Ice Cream. In addition to dropping ice cream from the sky with helium balloons, we decided